All right, everybody. Before the lockdown, there were just a couple of movie-going loudmouths in a coffee shop. Now they're loudmouths on the internet. Get ready to smash that like button for Jim and Rob. Anyway, everybody, we are just about to get started. I'm waiting for my good friend Jim Chloboyko to sign on. I literally, like a minute ago, sent him the link to the stream because, yeah, I'm new at this. Anyway, meanwhile, welcome to our second episode of the Jim and Rob Overanalyze Movies. Tonight, we're going to be taking an inordinately hard look at Overlord, and it's one of those. It's a 2018 zombie horror war action sci-fi kind of flick, and it's produced by J.J. Abrams and his producing partner Lindsey Weber. The stars were here. Let me pull some of that up. 1 second here. All right. Bear with me, everybody. I'm going to pull up their Wikipedia page. All righty. Okay. So, directed by Julius Avery, written by Billy Ray and Mark L. Smith. I guess he was brought in to do a bit of a polish once the project was greenlit. It stars Jovan Adepo, Wyatt Russell, Mathilde Ollivier, John Magaro. He was interesting character he played in based on a real person in, what the heck was that? The Big Short. And then there's Gianny Taufer. That must have been the little kid. Pilou Asbæk, and I'm probably mispronouncing that. And Bokeem Woodbine, who is in the movie for all of barely 2 scenes. It almost like do we have any name here? Okay, yeah, he was briefly in Game of Thrones. All right, folks, I'm now going to bring on my good friend Jim Chloboyko. Let's get him on. We'll take this nonsense off. Hi, Jim. How you doing?
Hello. I can't hear anything. 1 sec. Yeah, I'm gonna unplug this.
Running into some more technical difficulties. Can you hear me now, Mr. Chloboyko? Here, let me unmute your mic. Your mic's off. You're not, we have no mic from you. But you can obviously hear me because I can see you doing stuff about it. And yet again, it's interesting. This software I'm using, it's called Livestream, that makes a number of things very easy and other things less so. Okay. Meanwhile, while Jim's working out his technical issues, I'm going to say hello to some of the folks who've joined us on the stream. Now, hello, I could not pronounce your name for the life of me. So I'm just going to say hello. There's a part of me that wants to say, no, I couldn't even hazard a guess on the script. You know what? Maybe, wait. Oh, you know what? I think Jim. No, I don't. Who knows? And buffering. Sorry. Okay, but look at this. Matt Johnson is back for more. Jim, you'll remember Matt. He was on our last stream. So why don't you say hello? We can't hear you now, by the by. Oh, not anymore.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay, good.
I can, and you know what, Jim? That's what's important here.
It's like trying to invade a zombie castle full of Nazis.
Nazi zombies.
Sorry.
Well, and then some poor French victims, but.
Well, I was trying to plug this thing on, and if I had if I had audio, I couldn't hear you, and then if I unplugged it, anyway, yeah.
You'll have to work those issues out at a later date.
Yeah. Maybe we should do this not live. You know,
and
figure that out
again,
not live. But anyway.
And once again, we've managed to set up a thing where we're both looking away from each other.
yeah. Well, we didn't correct that.
We're gonna have to figure that out. All right. Okay, Jim. I did a brief introduction of when the movie was made, who produced it, who directed it, listed off the stars from the Wikipedia page. Do you want to, before we get into the meat of it, I don't know, how you doing, man?
Good. Yeah, just I feel like I was just trying to set timers underneath a Nazi castle there, but other than that, I figured everything out. Yeah. As you can see, I have my movie critic
chapeau.
I think I'll just wear the same ensemble every time. No, good. You know, I'm sort of waiting for the
fact that you actually probably don't wear that any other time. You know, this might be the one time where you're like, wow, I really should put something different on.
Two guys with hats. Anyway,
two middle-aged white guys with hats.
Just say, if in case we missed it, I'm just saying hi to Noah Rissman and or Ken and or Satomi. It looks like I told my friend Ken that we'd be doing this. He lives in Japan. He's an old friend of ours.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. So is that
that's the person that's keying in right now.
This
Happy.
Yeah. Is that Satomi?
That's Noah. That's their son.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, thank goodness, because I would have. Yeah, I didn't even guess. I didn't even have to guess.
It would have seemed pretty random otherwise. But yeah, no, I'm doing pretty good. I'm just sort of waiting. You know, it's with the COVID shutdown and everything else, and the weather just being so sort of bleak. It's sort of not. You know, I'm just waiting for the nice weather to come out, and but it gives me a chance to, you know, watch some stuff and read some stuff and clean up the house and that kind of thing. How about you? Have you been keeping? Have you been?
It's interesting. I was chatting with a couple of friends of mine. Well, you've met them, Richard and Katie. They and they should be watching. I will be testing them tomorrow. But the what's the word I'm looking for, Jim? No, because you know, like. I'd imagine like there's in your home, you got your wife, your two adult children, you know, young adult, but still, you know, for myself, because it's only me here. After a while, social distancing really means social isolation.
Oh, yeah.
And so thank goodness for the internet and this nonsense. Otherwise, like, and I'm actually getting involved in other people streaming, which all of a sudden, well, I want to stream and blah, blah, blah. What was that thing you read the other day about, you know, to add on to the tragedy?
Oh, yeah, it was a tweet and somebody said, and I'm paraphrasing here. How did it go? To make this quarantine seem even more horrible, Amazon is sold out of podcast microphones.
Well, thank goodness. Well, I got one. Anyway, okay. Why don't we get into the meat of the show?
How to make it work.
Well, anyway. You know, that'll come. Why don't we get into the meat of the show? Do you want to maybe give a quick little introduction to the film, and then I'll tell you why I think it was 1/3 of a great movie.
Yeah. Well,
not that I have an opinion on it or anything.
Yeah. You know, when we talk about it in you know, whatever setting we usually do after a movie, we can be pretty sloppy, and I'm sort of self-conscious about how tight I can make this. But yeah, it appeared this would have been a great movie to stumble on if you didn't know anything about it. Like if you know, say you were a teenager and it's late at night and you didn't know anything and you're watching The Late Show, as they used to have movies on late at night, kids, and it's this. It appears to be
Richard Lennon's proof.
Yeah, and I saw Katie had joined in too. Hi guys. It appeared to be like a straightforward team with a mission, kind of World War II movie, and then it all sort of become aware that that weirder things are at play, and there's something strange about the small French town that they've got as a target, and there's a sick aunt who sounds like she's going to be coughing up a heart or something. And as you go on, gradually you become aware that it's the setting for various scientific experiments, basically some kind of a zombie-like situation there. Although we can talk about this later.
Well,
there's sort of a zombie logic that I don't quite ever understand about zombies, but
well, let's go back to you know what, I didn't give the log line.
Okay.
But you know what, basically, for those of you folks who haven't seen it, the basic premise is this, and we can get into drilling down how ridiculous it is later.
Sure.
But for here, let me put myself back on the screen here.
Yeah.
For those folks who haven't seen it, it's a small squad of American military the night before D-Day, where there's this massive aerial assault. They parachute deeper into France, like not right at the coast, but not that far in, because they have to knock out a radio tower. And with so that the beach landing, the beach assault can go without the threat of the German Air Force, because this radio thing is probably hooked up to some sort of radar system. Who the heck knows? That's the basic premise. Of course, they land, you know, half of everyone died. They get into this French town, and like Jim was saying, oh, things are not as they seem. You know,
yeah.
Zombies and whatnot.
And it just, as you were saying that, it occurred to me that that's the same mission in the final Star Wars movie, is to knock out the transmitter. So galaxies away and thousands of years in the past or future, whatever.
Well, and also kind of a flip of the Rogue One.
Yes. Yeah. Although it's been a while since I saw that.
Well, where they had to, in the end, they had to go get the plans. Mm-hmm. And then get it onto a transmitter to blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You know, finally. All right. Okay. So what did you think? You're going on about how, hey, if you're a teenager, well, you've been like, hey, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. Part of the thing, and I always sort of go back to when you're discovering movies when you're young and you're sort of, you know, you turn on the CBC Late Show. I remember once I was pretty young and I stumbled upon a movie called Sleuth, which was just Michael Caine and Laurence Olivier. And it took me about 20 minutes and I knew nothing about it. And I read no criticisms or anything like that. And it took me a while for me to notice that there was only two people in the cast and they were wearing disguises and that kind of thing. And it was one of the coolest, because when it finally dawns on you, it's pretty cool. So when you know something, when you know going in that it's a Nazi zombie movie, then that sort of, you know, and you see, and these days, pictures and companies and stuff, they do so much press that it's like watching a trailer that gives away too much. Like you go in equipped with too much information. So,
yeah, but having said that, it's marketing. Like it was marketed as a zombie movie.
Well, and you're going to want to do that, right? You're not going to want to, you know, my son follows it more, but my son's a big video game player, and there's lots of Nazi zombie video games. There's there's a Norwegian one too that made a bit of a buzz. But in terms of this one, they play it straight for so long. It's almost like they want it both ways. Like they want to have a and it's not
classic war kind of mission, small crew. Will they accomplish the, you know, will they complete the mission?
Yeah. And I quite like I'm into the multi-hyphenate movies, as we mentioned last time, District 9, and that's perfect. What is it? It's about 3 or 4 different movies inside one movie. And with this one, it's almost like they want the best of both worlds. They want it to be horror, but they don't make it. I mean, it's pretty horrific, I guess. But they sort of don't
gory. I would say.
Yeah. What's that?
I would say gory, and the only and I'd even go further, because the only one who experiences horror and yeah, one of the highlights, and there weren't many, I would say, of the first 2 acts, like the first 2/3 of the movie, it's like, when is this going to get a move on? Like, when are we going to, like it just seemed it would go and then it would stop. It would go and then it would stop. That Jovan Adepo, the lead character, there wasn't, whereas every other character is they're in that plane and they're all sort of revealed. It's like, the wisecracker, the guy who's too committed to the mission so that he's going to be a bad guy. I'm thinking Michael Bain in The Deep, or not The Deep. You remember, like, it was one of those undersea movies from the late 80s, early 90s, where he goes insane, Yeah.
This is our side feature, Deep Cut. Remember Something Wicked This Way Comes?
Yeah. So, but he's a highlight because you know very little about him, but he totally communicates it. So when he's experiencing some of that tension, he's in the castle the first time, where he's like seeing all the horrors, and I was like, I was into it, and I was buying his fear. Actually, I was really just impressed with him. Everyone else, it was like okay, you're this type, you're that type. Back to the video game thing. It very much so. Yeah, that's what I really thought this was. They've turned at one of those horror video games. Horror, like you said, there's a lot of Nazi zombie horror video games. They took that, like, right from the parachute on down, starting in the plane, flying to Germany. There's no, there's no setup anywhere else. Like, it's just, they're on the plane, Overlord, they see all the ships, the other planes, etc., which I thought was a great start. In the fall, it's like, I've played video games like that, where it's just that, okay, you're thrown into it, and then let's stop. And then let's stop. I'm surprised they didn't go shopping in the French town, because they needed provisions. So there was moments in that first 2/3, but I think, and this is maybe what you're talking about, they wanted everything. They wanted to do Saving Private Ryan, and it's like, no, buddy. Even in those, like, those those hyphenate movies, they usually got to kind of go, okay, this is what this movie really is, and these other genres are supporting players. And here it was almost, no, we're gonna have a third like this, a third like this, a third like this. It was almost, and it wasn't genre switching like Knives Out. I saw a great piece about Knives Out and how it flips the genre it's almost like that's the act break is, okay, we're no longer in a detective movie. We're not in a whodunit. We now know this. We're in this kind of movie. And I don't think it was doing that, or it wasn't doing it as effectively. Like, and I really meant it when I saw you texted me, saying, hey, how are you doing? Where are you at? And I'm like, that's finally picked up. And I checked it, and it was like 70 minutes in. 2/3. Like, it really was the second act break, where it was like, and then all of a sudden I was into it. That last third, and usually for me, it's the other way around, but that last third, and maybe it was Adepo and maybe a couple of the other players where I started to like them enough. I cared about them enough.
So this is where you're saying it's a third of a good movie.
That exactly. Like, there's a 1/3 of a great movie there. And if the other two parts, but at the same time, Jim, I'm thinking about what you're saying about as a teenager. And I did think that. I was like, if I was 15, 16, when you were just gobbling the stuff, you were just eating up any movie you could. And I remember some of the awful Chuck Norris movies I watched when I was a kid, and you were just dying. I think if I saw this, a 14-year-old watching that, it may define their zombie movie experience, and maybe do a pretty good job of it. Myself, though, I'm like, oh my goodness, when is this going to get going? And the kind of caricature terrible things these soldiers are doing because they're suffering, it's like, I'm not buying that. And oh my goodness, that kid, the French heroine, her kid brother, it's like, you'd think the kid didn't grow up in a war zone. Like, I would imagine every small French child, having grown up under occupation, would have, not been as dense as that kid. How did that kid live as long as he did?
And that okay, there's a couple of things too. Well, if you're talking about the French girl and what was her name, Chloe,
Chloe.
and her son
Chloe Laurent. And it was almost like, oh, somebody. Are they like,
it was her brother.
we'd really like to, the brother was Paul, but she was Chloe Laurent.
Yes.
And even there, I'm like, are we projecting who we really wanted to cast and couldn't afford? Because even Bokeem, I'm looking at Bokeem Woodbine. It was he in 2 scenes, and it's like, oh, here was your money actor.
That kind of fascinates me because you truck him in. I don't know how these things work. You just roll a dump truck of cash up. You're going to be, spoiler alert, you're going to be off in the first 15 minutes. So we can let you go back and do Fargo. I don't know.
Well, he did 2 scenes, right? So I suspect, not that I'm. Look at this. Now I'm feeling very important.
Well, Matt's back too. I don't know if you noticed that. Hold on, let's just excuse me one sec.
Hello, Curtis. Good to see you. I'm hoping you're doing fine. This is Curtis Judd here. I'm going to say hello to him in Utah. He's actually, if anything's good about my lighting or sound, it is because of this man. The stuff that isn't working, please don't lay it on his doorstep. That's me still trying to figure stuff out. But going back to Bokeem.
Are you going to do this just in case the Rissmans are still on? I wonder if they recognize this guy, Taka Nohana, the best sumo wrestler ever. Anyway.
Well, we'll find out. Maybe they'll make a comment. Okay. Maybe they'll make a comment, and then I will keep you apprised. Oh, Curtis says my sound is great. I can't wait to brag to
Curtis's photo looks suspiciously professional.
Curtis is professional videographer and production sound person down in Utah. Oh, well, it's smart ass. Okay, back to Bokeem. This is how I suspect it happened. Not that I was like super involved in this kind of thing, but when I was in the industry, like usually what happens is, so they put their package together, they need a name, have it been long enough that they can use him in the marketing. Okay. And the deal, whatever the amount of money, I'm sure it wasn't a truckload, but it was a reasonable amount of money. And it was 2 scenes. Like, I mean, he might have been on set 1 day. Might have been. It looked like a better produced than that, but he would have been on set for a day or 2, flown in or wherever they produced it. I'm sure I can find that out later. But so he's the only recognizable character. Like was it John Magaro, who was in The Big Short? I kind of recognized him. That was a character where like kind of the one the I don't play baseball, very New York, the New York guy chewing.
He was such a Band. I don't know if you ever watched Band of Brothers. I could have sworn he was right from the Band of Brothers reject pile or from their casting list, because he apparently wasn't in it. But I was like, when I first saw him, I thought, oh my God.
Well, but even like the Currahee and like that's what I mean. They're all very video game caricatures.
Yeah.
Again, if it wasn't for that Jovan Adepo, I think it really, I don't know if I would have made it to the 3rd act, or it would have been a lot harder.
There's a couple of things there, and not really. Well, one's a criticism and one's a point. He loses his helmet almost immediately, and he never picks up another helmet. So he's not helmeted. And I sort of wonder if that's the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man kind of where he has to take off his mask every 30 seconds so you can see his expression, right? Or if the mask is burnt off, or
at least enough where you get the eyes, right?
Yeah.
Wow, you haven't lost your eyesight, but you've lost enough of a mask.
But they just, that seems like a conscious decision. And I always think, ooh, what about, as a parent, I'm like, young man, you should put on your helmet. But he was the only one without a helmet, aside from the capos in the castle there. But the other thing too is that it's kind of, I think, part of the pain or pain is a bit broad of a word, but I think part of the issue of the first hour of the movie is by having a pacifist essentially as the main character in a Nazi zombie movie.
Well, and that's again going back to that. It has like a lot of weaknesses, right? But I didn't think of him as a pacifist. I think there was like the story about the mouse, which is really unfortunate they did in a story. They could have showed us, or actually, it kind of regularly showed us he was a compassionate guy, and you know, almost like but you're right, they didn't establish him as the Hacksaw Ridge guy. But I think that was the story about the mouse and the way they're setting him up. That's the save the cat moment, right, where they kind of go, no, this is the guy you should like, because everyone's either seen too much war or well, of course the Nazis, like again, like just an offensive stereotype. Not that I'm like, oh, there's good now. You know what I mean? Like, it's just where do you need to caricature them? Well, I guess in a video game, they're all caricatures. And that's, again, back to the weakness of the film, I think. And even, back to the pacing and everything, it's like, yeah, you could have started. Okay, now I'm going to rip off Knives Out. You know what? Instead of just being 1/3, at the first third of the movie, you bet, fly in, kind of move around. And then why weren't they thrown right into the castle right away? Like back to that thing, they were too busy trying to be Private Ryan and, starting with caricatures and developing them, it's like, pick the movie you want to be, Yeah. Does that make any sense? Like,
yeah, I mean, and I'm not sure, I'm just a fan. So I'm not sure how you draw that line between being a multi-hyphenate movie and being unable to choose, what kind of movie you're going to be. And it sort of seemed like the latter to me. Not that I didn't enjoy it. It just seemed to want the best of both worlds, as I said before. There was one interesting thing I noticed near the end, and as a Jaws fan, there was two distinct moments where it sort of copied the end of Jaws. And spoiler alert, the way they get rid of temporarily or whatever the bad guy is Wyatt Russell kicks kicks the
tank of whatever
oxygen, gas or whatever, and so he
and gives them the look,
taps it rolls over to the baddie, and he signals to our main character, hey, take a shot at this. Now in Jaws, Roy Scheider is just about. Oh, you cut out there.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Oh. Now I'm cutting everyone out. Listen, man, great. I'm gonna throw you in solo. You continue.
Here, now my chance to take over.
My audio,
with no technical skills,
nor control of the stream thingy. Anyway,
Roy Scheider takes a oxygen tank, throws it into the shark's mouth. Shark makes another turn, and he says, "Smiley son of a bitch," blows him away. But after that, that's a dual spoiler, I guess. But after that, when he hooks up again with Richard Dreyfuss, he's been underwater and he comes back, and he sees that the shark's been destroyed, and he looks over and he says, "Quint," and Brody just silently shakes his head. So when our main character comes up, they look at him and they say, Wyatt Russell?
Boyce. Main character Boyce. And then Ford was
yes.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get it wrong. So they look at Boyce.
And then Waffner for the head Nazi bad guy, where it's like, oh my goodness. On the nose.
And they look at Boyce, they say Ford, and he silently shakes his head.
Yeah.
Exactly. Note for note Jaws.
Which though, like, again, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with those little moments, like it's because it's not a copy of Jaws. It's taken a nice little moment out of it. Well, at the same time, and it fit again, that third act was a great, yes, to anyone watching who hasn't already seen it, and I'm not sure why, well, hey, if you're going to watch it, if you can get through the first 2/3 of the movie, last third is bang on it. It gives you everything it kind of promised. But even that moment, by then you're kind of, okay, I'm getting into it. It's B, but I kind of expect that with Nazi zombies in World War II, sure, that makes sense.
I was just surprised to see if that was on the poster.
Yeah,
Overlord by J.J. Abrams.
Well,
first hour, man, stay for the last half hour.
Yeah, but you look at all, like, I mean, I looked at a fair bit of the poster art. Well, hey, actually, I can bring some of the poster art up. Yes, I have this. Oh, we got a private chat here. Oh, never mind. I really should be paying attention.
Yeah.
All right, let me see if anyway.
Struggling with the timer and the bomb.
As I try and figure this thing out. All right, where the heck's that poster? Oh, never mind. I don't have the poster handy.
Oh well.
But all the posters kind of really did tell what they were. Like you at no time should you be surprised. You know, that it's like again, and maybe that's part of it is like, okay, it starts with the cheese, like for about 5 minutes, and then it's like it wants to be more serious. And then it just kind of, you know, putters along. Like a lot of that stuff. I mean, yeah, it could have been so much more fast paced. Like,
no, it doesn't show up on my phone.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll see if I can't dig something up.
Okay.
But do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I would say that's the that, like, I mean, to save that or most of it in the last third, when, you know, a lot of what's going on could have been done for the first half of the movie or the first 2/3 of the movie. Most of it could have been in the first act, you know, and then switch to how are we going to survive, but we still have the mission, and then things change and they're like, okay, we're going to make this happen. You know, yes, 1/3 of a good movie. You know, what would you, if there's anything you could do different, Jim, what would you do?
You know, I always find it frustrating. A couple things. I find it frustrating when characters are slow to the uptake, you know, like they're slow to catch on. So at the end, when Ford is saying to Boyce, you know, go. Like,
no,
like
open the
thing. It's like, go, no, go, no, you better get out of here. No, I'm setting the fuse. No, you know, and it just takes forever for that to happen.
And they're not actually doing anything. Like it slows the scene down. It slows the action down, or well, it doesn't slow it down. It stops it because they're only talking. You know, there's no meaningful look or no, I can let you out as he tries 8 different things to try and break down the door, and it's like,
and he doesn't tell me.
We'll be friends. You know, it's a Spock moment where at least Kirk was trying to still get him out. Other people had to hold him back because he's my friend. You know, live long and prosper. You know.
So there's characters that are slow to the uptake. I find really painful to watch, and the whole thing, like using the little boy as the sort of like. And I knew he would get somebody shot, and I knew it. There was speaking of late night movies, there was a classic one.
At least he didn't get the guy killed.
No.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, the classic one.
There's a yeah, that's right, because almost none of the core. Anyway, I don't want to give everything away, but there's a late night movie called
Some Die, Some Survive.
Yeah. There's a movie called The Cassandra Crossing. That's a pretty typically, if you find it in old movie review journals.
Okay, I don't think I've ever seen it, but I've 1 star.
It's a plague movie. It's about 2 guys. Are they animal rights guys? They break into a lab and they get infected with something, and then they're being chased by the authorities. So they come on this train. And it's one of those beautiful 70s movies. It's a disaster movie. It's got like Burt Lancaster and O.J. Simpson and Martin Sheen, and there's a little girl character, and because
it almost like it looks like it could have been made as an NBC, like when the big 3 networks made really big movies.
Yeah.
You know, anyway, sorry.
Well, no, I think it was a theatrical release.
Oh, yeah, but it's starting to, like, you know, those movies had that look. Like even Midway had almost like or The Right Stuff. You watch The Right Stuff now, you go, was this made for TV? Like top tier TV. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted. So beautiful moment.
I watched Absence of Malice this week, and TV movie, like the old Paul Newman, Sally Field thing. The music's TV, the shots are TV, the establishing
premise is TV. Like
Yeah.
it's a melodrama.
Anyway.
Netflix should be combing through all that stuff going, oh, we could make that for us. And, anyway, sorry, go on.
Okay, so Cassandra
great
Crossing,
moment.
filled with, it's one of those, got a million stars.
Moses saving lives.
Really, really young stars or really old stars sort of on the back nine of their career, like Burt Lancaster at the time. And there's a little girl character, and she herself gets 2 people killed. And that ever since that, like, she sees something and screams, and then, and somebody gets, murdered or whatever. The whole movie is basically, the authorities become aware that the whole train is infected, so they try to reroute it to an old Polish railroad bridge called Cassandra Crossing that's not sturdy enough to hold up the train, and it's going to crash into the.
It won't be like we killed them. The bridge did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so ever since then, the little kid character to me has always been a siren. Essentially, that something bad's going to happen, that they're going to put a certain character in jeopardy.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, I mean, now mind you, well, and that's a tough one. At least I feel your pain, which is what makes this one even worse. Like, again, and there was moments where just some clunker lines and clunker premises, like when that Wyatt guy, the Ford character, no one can know we're here. It's like, what, except for the thousands of planes that went over, the fact that, that part, and even that, it's like, why did they need to sneak in guys to blow up this radio tower? This isn't like the Guns of Navarone or something like earlier in the war. This is, Americans had total air supremacy. Nothing flew without them, knowing about it. Like, why wasn't it just bombed into oblivion?
Yeah.
But back to the kid, at least you could say, give the little girl on the train. That's not a situation a little girl would be, used to.
Yeah.
Whereas this dumbass kid, it's like, you've been under occupation for years. No one told you to shut up. No one ever said, like, he's so, dunk, 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 gunfire.
Wooden floors, I don't know.
Yeah. And even, and again, it is that first 2/3 where, one of the bad guys, one of the Germans is spitting on the kid's ball. It's like, really? A
lot of things.
We know he's a bastard. You don't like it, but it's those, either you're doing the little thing where you think he might be good and he flips it, like if that scene was earlier or something, and then does something horrifically cruel, but it's more just petty. We know you're a jerk.
Yeah.
That's been well established. Like that character, such that he, if you could call him a character, that was well established. So to do those small petty things later, it's like kind of out of order.
This is the lead Nazi guy, the Werther or whatever his name was you're talking about.
Waffner. No, this is one of the even that Waffner.
Well, no, the blonde guy that they corner on the bridge.
Yeah, him. And even that part, like by that point, no lone German soldier was ever following a girl into the woods. They knew well that it was like, this is how I get garroted or whatever by the resistance. It's like they landed in the only part of France that did not have an active resistance movement. Even the one where she's squealing on them, again, earlier in the war. Like, in these moments, because the movie's first 2/3, well, even look at the way I'm describing it. I can pick apart little things in those first 2/3 because it's not engaging me, except for Adepo. His character engaged me, but everything else. So I've got all kinds of time to think about what's wrong. Later on, though, as I got more into it, I'm like, kind of, whatever. I'm enjoying myself. My suspension of disbelief comes back, which is kind of remarkable. Films usually don't go that way. They start bad, they stay bad. This one didn't, or it had enough to engage me, or maybe because I made a commitment for this ridiculous nonsense we're participating in that we created. Then I said, no, I'll set it all up, Jim. Then it was like, oh, I should finish the movie. And I'm glad I did, but
yeah.
yeah, that kid was a dumbass.
Well, yeah. And I wonder if they were sort of trying to capture the Jojo Rabbit audience. They're dressed the same. They have little fantasy worlds.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Where did he get a baseball and a baseball glove from? That would have had to have been, like, at the time, a gift from an American, no?
Well, I'd imagine, like
that alone.
Okay,
it would be a soccer ball.
Hope. Upwards of 4 people are watching right now, Jim. Yes. You know what? Maybe somebody can chime in our audience. Even then, the fascination with your North American culture was extreme. I bet you any little kid could get it, and yeah, I don't, not that all of a sudden they're all playing baseball, but they could get these little things and not know what to do with them. That I buy. Yeah. I was okay with that. What I wasn't, though, on the same point, I don't know.
I think that's
what, I'll have to come back to that. I can't remember.
The German soldiers spit on the ball because it was an American, it was sort of an American thing. That might have been a little subtext. There's another aspect of this that's the missed punches, which is number 1, the little snitchy lady with their whistle. I'm going to tell the captain.
That's who I wanted to. Yeah.
How did she not get it in the end? Like that's
well, actually, there's 2 moments in there from the village. You're right. How did she not get it in the end? But also a point where I was taken out of the movie. For those of you who haven't seen it, we've pretty much spoiled it all. And believe me, this was not a key plot point. They go into the village. You're getting the woman that they kind of captured, then kind of let go. Even that was weird. This Miss Laurent, she is going through, and then yes, there's squealers everywhere, and every neighborhood has that jerk who's like, I don't like what you're doing. Yeah. But this is the end of the war. You can smell it. It's like, oh, this is when you tweet, oh, you're out late. It's like, what are you crazy? I bet you, that's the time when if you're doing any war crimes going on, they're like, okay, let's pack up all evidence of our war crimes and move east. Yeah. If they weren't already doing it. And every collaborator was going, ooh, how do I spin this? Not continuing to squeal on people unless she was trying to get, and I don't think blowing a whistle is going to get you on one of those trucks to go east. Like
the French woman, I'm going to shave my own head to make them think that they already got to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So again, but also first third of the movie, and all these little, but there's another one that was missed. So yeah, how did she not get it in the end? Some kind of punishment. Yeah. What happened to the ant?
The ant was a huge missed opportunity. Now, when you go onto the Netflix, like the screen for Netflix, and it'll show you like a clip or a mini trailer or part of a scene.
Yeah.
They show the voice character, the lead character, hearing this,
the creepy that everyone goes, that sounds like a sick person.
and it's, as we've spoken before, but the other people watching us may not know, it's basically the fireworks factory in The Simpsons. They never made it to the fireworks factory, and they have a sick zombie ant in the next room, and maybe
who they just sent home.
Who they just sent home, and maybe it was just at the experiment stage. Like maybe she didn't have full zombie powers,
because the Waffner guy, his character was, somehow exploiting, because he definitely was, basically extorting sex out of.
They had a relationship.
The Chloe, yeah.
Which is why I think she got free.
Yeah, but it's like, that's like again, like how. This was the easiest to access and escape facility, with terrible security. None of that German efficiency and professionalism that I come to expect, even from Nazis.
I think you're being a little rough there, Rob. Just because an obvious African American soldier walking around in the forbidden lair, scientific lair of a French church/castle, you know, it happens all the time.
You know what, Jim, I you know what, I have been duly admonished. Thank you for
that. This is one of those movies where I say to myself, how would I perform in this situation? And I'd be dead in the first minute. I'd be one of the guys hanging, the paratroopers hanging from the tree.
Yeah. Well, although mind you, it's a world where that kid managed to survive. Like, I mean, in spite of his own bad behavior. You know, at what point? Oh, this is going to sound terribly dark. But it's that kind of ridiculous nonsense where the dark satirical movie, the Jojo Rabbit film, you know, the Taika Waititi take on it would be, you know, there'd be some moment where the, you know, one of the Americans, or you know, there'd be the wisecracking French, you know, resistance members, like, you know, we could just let him run, and you know, that's a minefield. Yeah, I know. You know, we'll go play catch with them.
or how about this? Speaking about missed opportunities,
I don't want the child to die. Like,
yeah,
and I was glad the way it ended. Again, like, it managed to redeem a number of characters in that last act, even to a point where I'm glad he made it.
Yeah.
You know, sorry.
I was sort of waiting for the moment where, okay, you have the one zombie, the one guy on their side, the Chase, I believe his name was, the photographer, and he gets killed, and they hit him with the syringe, and he basically comes back to life.
Yeah.
And he goes after them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the crazy, sweaty zombie with the compound fracture that goes after the French girl.
Yeah.
Right? Goes after her. And then at the end, you have Wyatt Russell's character, Ford, down in the dungeon.
Yeah.
And
the one who's obvious. Like, I mean, the Michael Bain in a world where we know what post-traumatic stress disorder is.
Yeah.
Which is actually, I think, why he is allowed to redeem himself in the way he does.
Mm-hmm.
You know, anyway, sorry, go on.
Well, I was just going to say, at no point, and another missed opportunity, at no point do you have zombies going after the Nazis. And it's clear.
No, that one that came after her did eat that one guy. Only one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, you're right. Continue. Yeah. I thought there was going to be a moment.
You have a group of 20 guys and you release 5 Nazis on them.
Yeah.
You know, it would be basically the Colin Firth scene in The Knightsman where he takes out the whole church, basically. I mean, that's right there. That's the cinema, you know, that's the kind of thing they could have put in the first hour that would have been kind of fun. But anyway.
Yeah.
So that's sort of I was expecting at one point for them just to, they have a bunch of zombies underground as zombie prisoners. I don't know. Release them on the German soldiers. Like, how did that not happen?
Well, I think, Jim, that kind of blew my mind as well. Like, there's usually that moment. I mean, so many movies, going back to what you were talking about, that missed, the missed opportunity, the punch not taken, the gag. Like, you could have almost had, like, where some of them got away and, I don't know, went after the squealer woman with the whistle lady, you know, or something. Yeah. Like, you know what, the dogs get out of the pound and go after the cruel dog guy, whatever the hell they're called. Dog catcher. You know, they didn't have any of those except for that one little brief moment, right?
Yeah.
No, I agree with you.
So, I mean, there's all this kind of carnage you kind of avoided by having all this sort of to and fro drama in the first hour. But you know.
Yeah. Well, and that's, all those missed opportunities in what should be in all the things I've outlined. And sci-fi is probably the weakest part. I think it was almost like, do you say war, zombie, and zombies are kind of sci-fi, but both kind of imply action.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, when you're in more of a zombie kind of thing, it should feel, and that's what I maybe this is it. What was missing is there was never any time where you're like, really, like, I'm thinking, what a great zombie movie was the first Resident Evil. And what made it great is what makes any of those kind of movies great is that there's this big hunk of action and you ratchet up the tension and the stakes get higher and that. And then they'll have a breather, but just a breather. Little bit of character moment, either funny or heartfelt, or but a tiny bit of it, and then it's right back into the group going through the Nostromo or whatever. Like they're going through the catacombs, they're trying to achieve their objective, and it never. What's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't. It kind of almost proportions it the exact opposite. And like, even though we know about these zombies, we as the audience, and you got one character, the rest, you don't feel that the stakes rise until the very end.
Yeah.
And it's almost like they had to get the kid captured, because otherwise they've been like, well, let's just go blow up the tower. No, really, there's monsters in the basement. Sure, there are, boys. Like.
Yeah. Well, and one more. The whole thing about zombies too, and I've watched a lot of seasons. I seem to have run aground on The Walking Dead in about season 8, and then just because it's such a it's not a very light series, and then Fear the Walking Dead has some interesting. I think the most interesting aspect of that is that large chunks of it are set in Mexico, and so you have a lot of sort of Mexican and Latino. Latin actors that are playing sort of against type, like they're playing business owners and hotel people, and not necessarily the bad guy or anything like that. So that's kind of neat there. Where was I heading with this? Oh, just so regarding.
Where are you heading with that, Jim?
I don't know. I'll get there somehow. Sometimes I watch these things and the mechanics of the zombies I still don't fully understand, and it is what it is. I guess you're just supposed to take it for what it's worth. There's a fight, big fight at the end here. Yeah. Between the lead Nazi and the Ford character. And the Ford character takes a jagged, huge metal pipe, jams it where his spine should be.
Yeah.
And puts it right through him. And in sort of a daring act of strength, the zombie pulls out the pipe. So, okay. So yeah, you can you're still alive without a functioning spine, but the structure of your body, the integrity of your
but come on, there's parts where claws were coming out of Buddy's shoulder.
That's a whole other, because you never saw that again, but if you don't have a spine, you're not moving.
Yeah. Well, I think
you have a zombie, and then the sweaty zombie with the compound fracture, he gets shot in the head 3 times. That's not good enough, but he catches on fire.
Yeah. Well,
how does that slow him down?
I don't think that character ever got shot in the head, or a character that monster did. I think it was all
bang, bang, bang.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No, you're right.
So that didn't stop him, but a little fire did. Oh, this must be 2nd degree burn.
Well, but I think that's part of the weakness of this film. And again, it's like there's no, again, in these kind of movies, there's at the beginning or somewhere, there's some exposition that kind of gives the rules of the monster, or, a character or something like, where is the, like, which is another one where they're like, they kind of captured her. It's almost like they wanted to be Predator.
Yeah.
But Predator did a really good job. As they learned more, they became like they may have had a bit of blah, blah, blah in it, but mostly they they tell us how bad this character is by showing how bad the predator is, right?
Yeah.
Which is in some ways a similar movie. But there, the woman they captured, and of course it's always a woman, the woman they captured there, she is kind of an antagonist to them. Whereas this one, it's like, well, why are they going after her? She looks like she could be like the French Resistance, right? Like, and even they can't know, we got to get her. They can't know that they're here. Again, planes were falling out of the sky. There's nothing. It's not like these Nazis are like kind of, wonder what that is. Oh, I think there was a plane accident nearby. It's just there's no effort to search for them afterwards. There's no, Anyway, looks like we're coming up on the hour mark. My friend, might be time to wrap it up, but let's see if there's anyone in our audience that has any questions or any comments. And then I think we should talk about the next episode, because I think we got at least another one of these in her. You know what? I got a great promo idea for the next one. So we got to do another episode
Sure. I was just going to say one final thing is that I thought I quite liked, as a fan of Lodge 49, Wyatt Russell, who played Ford, is in that. And he's sort of a hippy dippy kind of stoner surf guy in that. And he's really different in this one. I was actually quite impressed with the authority that he brought to some of it. Well, he's a bit of a caricature, but he was, I believed him. Like I believed his character. So.
Well, and again, like in that last act, they all kind of like got an opportunity to be a little more real. We spent more time with them doing, as opposed to, saying what bastards they were or how hard bitten or cool, whatever, but they were acting, not telling. I think, but where the hell am I going with that? Jesus, I don't know. I lost my train of thought. I'll have to watch it again.
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, what do you think for next show? And are we going to do it next weekend? You're going to be busy all week. What?
Wanted to wait about. I'd probably be good after about a week and a half. I'm actually working. I'm one of the few that's able to work from home, but I work in the evening, and makes it kind of tough to do this. But I mean, at some point in the next week and a half, we can talk about that.
Okay. Any ideas? Let's throw up a quick overlay. What should we be? What are you thinking there, Jim? You know what? Do we want to? We do have something. I was pretty close to going for. Do you want to do one more? We could be like a trilogy of kind of sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
Do that. The Wandering Earth.
Yeah. That's. I've not watched much Chinese science fiction, so one of my favorite films is African science fiction, but being District 9. But Wandering Earth sounds good.
And
Netflix.
Nothing to do with the simple fact that I wonder how I can do this. I want to show that background. Is there a way I can show the background? No, it isn't.
Here we go.
Well, you can only
I can see sort of a little bit of one. Yeah.
Oh well. Anyway, because I wasn't sure which one we were gonna do, so I was like, okay. Bottom line, we do have folks. We have another option here. So, well, Jim, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap it up? And
I apologize for the technical difficulties on my end at the very start, but it gave you time to monologue there and freestyle. So that's
because you got a little extemporate. I can't remember that word, which is definitely a cue that we should be wrapping this up.
Yes.
All right, my friend, I'm going to kick you out of the stream, and then I'm going to bail on the stream myself. But I will have some nonsense on the thing. But to those who are still with us, we got a few people still watching on YouTube and on Facebook. Thank you all for sharing this time with us. If there's anybody you think we should, any movie we think, we're probably going to do Wandering Earth next time. It may not be next weekend, but sometime between next weekend and let's say Wednesday, Thursday of that week.
Do weekends even exist anymore?
That's a good point. So how about we say this? 8 to 10 days, we're going to have a movie, and we will
8 to 10 solar units.
Does it even need to be solar? Like, how often is anyone going outside anymore?
We should also
suspect our friend in Utah, goes outside quite a bit.
It's warmer down there.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, on that note, Jim, I'm gonna say goodbye to you now.
All right, thank you, sir.
Maybe I'll give you a quick shout right after, just to kind of debrief. These folks don't need to hear a crap about. No, really, I will fix that.
Yeah.
Ooh, all of a sudden, everything activity jumped up. It's like a whole bunch of people signed on. It's like, oh, we got to get in our proof of attendance. All righty, man. Okay.
All right.
Take care. All right. And I'll call you in about 5 minutes. Okay.
Sure.
Bye. Alrighty, folks. Again, thanks so much for joining us. We had a great time. I hope you guys did as well. Feel free to make any comments or suggestions. I mean, we really appreciate your patience. We're still learning, especially on how to run the gizmo. But you know what? We're having a good time, and especially in tough times like these, notwithstanding us making light of it on occasion, this is the positive side of technology, in that it allows us to maintain some semblance of connection and some connection to what we did before it got crazy. And thanks for bringing a bit of yourself to this. I'm getting a little too mushy on what's really just some nonsense that a couple of guys ramble on about movies. Okay, good night, jazz hands.